What's that spooky movie? Is it a hit? Don't ask Alenka, she'll say, I haven't seen it.
Welcome to the Haven't Halloweeny Seen It podcast. This is the podcast where we bring on the movies that are Halloween and people on the show that will get them really drunk and they tell me about Halloween movies that I'd never seen before. That was the closest I could have probably ever gotten. I'm Alenka Zach.
And I'm Will. Oh, Alenka.
What?
Alenka.
What?
Are you sad? Are you sad?
Oh, because this is the last movie?
It's our last spooky movie month episode.
I am kind of sad because I freaking love Halloween. I love it so much, and I get so jazzed about it, and the pumpkins, and the weens, and the hallows. It's my favorite time of year. So I feel like I'll miss that.
I mean, you have been like, I don't know, pretty spooked by most of our movies. Like, I feel like you weren't enjoying.
You know what?
Halloween movies, like, whatsoever.
I would say which one? The Blair Witch. That's the one. Yeah. I would say that was probably the scariest. That was the scariest.
Yeah. Yeah, that one, you know what? Watching that over, not as scary as I remembered it, but talking about it, I'm like,
so scary.
This is a scary movie.
I literally waited in this room for a very long time before I left. I was very scared to
That's
leave.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? This next movie is not as, like, I wouldn't say it's as scary, but it's real. Okay. It's spooky. It's definitely spooky. And on the show tonight to talk about this spooky movie, our last spooky movie month guest, she is the writer, composer, producer, performer, narrator of the award-winning podcast On a Dark, Cold Night, Kristen Zaza.
Woo! Hello.
Ooh, hello.
Hi.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was way over saying I'm spooky Will.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm late to the party.
That's fine. It was bad when Will did it.
It was terrible. Well, welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited. I see the commitment on your bookshelf.
What do you see? Well, I'm trying to.
I just see spooky items. It makes me very excited.
Sure.
She's like,
just normal
spookiness.
Stuff. Yeah, this is just, a little glimpse into my day-to-day.
I like it.
Alenka, you did say you love the Ween and you love the Hollow.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Now, I know it as the Headless Horseman, which is it's the asterisk part. It's the hyphen part of it, isn't it? Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman.
Yeah, you mean like the full title or just?
Yeah, is it not?
No, the movie's just called Sleepy Hollow, right? Unless maybe in other countries it's called.
Excuse me?
Yeah, unless you're thinking of the Disney one, the Ichabod Crane animated thing, which maybe you are.
You know what? I think I've
like
seen
the
that
Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So the tale of I'm not sure.
Ichabod Crane
in the Hamlet of Sleepy Hollow. Yeah.
I actually distinctly remember going to the movies and having a Sleepy Hollow bucket of popcorn.
Ah, yeah. I remember when it was in the theaters. That would have lined up with what I assume all of our age range kind of is in. Yeah. I was very terrified of it, and I didn't see it until a few years later when I got like super into Pirates of the Caribbean, and then discovered Johnny Depp like way too late. Was like, who is this guy? I have to go through his whole repertoire.
The next great actor. I hope he hasn't been in
Johnny
much.
Depp.
You ever heard of him? He's like in movies.
Yeah, my sister's 10 years older than me, and she was like, "Girl, we all know about Johnny Depp. Come on,
we grew up with him. Like he's my neighbor."
But this is peak Johnny Depp, I think.
And peak Johnny Depp is what year?
What was this? 99? No.
99. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Ooh, really? I nailed it.
When did this cartoon come out?
Oh no, I don't know.
Well, for me, it was maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it came out in 99, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
look it
99
up.
is when Sleepy Hollow came out.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
is the cartoon like The Adventures of Ichabod? Or is there another cartoon?
I think I don't know exactly what it's called, but I think it's a part of the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Like I think
Mr. Toad.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that was like in the 40s or 50s, I
What?
think, that cartoon came out.
Did
maybe
he-
a bit later. Maybe I would guess. I'm gonna look it up, but I would guess a little bit later than that because I think it would have been after Snow White. Let's see.
That's old.
Ichabod,
That's very old.
Crane, Disney.
Snow White was real old.
Oh no, you're right. 1949.
Yeah.
The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
What?
But that's not what this is.
Okay.
But
No, this is
Yeah.
much different.
This is live
Johnny
action.
Depp.
And because it's a Johnny Depp movie, it's obviously directed by Tim Burton. So
Is it? I actually
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Mhm.
What other
would
movies had
also-
Tim come out with at this time?
At this time? I don't know. Edward
Like, had he gotten
Scissorhands
into his
was
oh,
late
yes, okay, great.
80s.
this was after Batman Returns, for sure.
Yes.
I think
yes.
way after Beetlejuice.
Mhm.
Way
Oh,
after.
yeah.
Like
I
Edward
thought he did
Scissorhands and
that.
Beetlejuice would have probably been like late 80s. If I'm
Yeah.
correct.
The ladies.
Nightmare
if
Before
you will.
Christmas would have been early 90s, I think.
Mhm.
But he didn't technically direct that. But still counts as Tim Burton, obviously. I
this
don't know.
is-
Monkey
this is-
Bone? Monkey
this is-
Bone might have been around there.
Yeah, yeah. Monkey Bone. Wait, did he direct that?
Well, you know what? You're probably right.
No,
in
I
that
think he, like,
I don't think he
produced it,
did, but he
probably.
did something. A lot of the like characters are
Oh,
Tim
yeah.
Burton ish.
But, no, this is between Mars Attacks and
What?
Planet of the Apes.
He did those? Or I don't
Yeah.
know the first one, but he did that? That's great.
Planet of the Apes, not like the reboot, but like the reboot. Sorry. He did the reboot,
Not the original.
reboot.
I thought there was
Yeah.
one. So we all learn things on
Yeah.
a daily basis, and this today has been my learning.
You thought there was one Planet of the Apes?
Let's not talk about it right now.
There's like 50 now. There's so many of them
They
now.
just keep making them.
There's too many Planet of the Apes now.
That's fantastic. We have not done Planet of the Apes, but why do I feel like I actually know the entire plot? Because I can tell you, I definitely didn't watch it.
There's a planet filled with apes.
There's a
No, I
Simpsons
know.
episode
Yeah.
where they make it a musical, so maybe
No,
that's
I didn't
true.
watch that. I definitely wouldn't have watched The Simpsons.
She's
Aw.
not a Simpsons gal.
I used
Yeah,
to
that
be.
was a strong no for the Simpsons.
You know, I used to be, and then I just think it had always at a very young age really freaking bothered me that they were yellow.
Okay.
I don't know. You don't need to
Fair
go
enough.
into it too
There we
much,
go.
but I think I just
Were you
No,
concerned
let's
for their
go
health,
further.
or-
Let's go further into
no,
this.
yeah, I just think it really bothered me because I was like nobody. Like they had, and it was exceptionally odd because I think was his name. What was the name of the Quickie Mart guy? I think was he the only
Apu.
actually skin toned person?
No, there's Carl and Dr.
I don't remember
Hebert.
him.
Dr. Hibbert. A lot of
Well,
guest
why?
stars.
Like, why did they just choose random people to be like, okay, you can be a real like color of what somebody's flesh might look like, and then
but all the yellow skinned people just have jaundice. That's
that's
what
not
that
true.
is, yeah.
No, you're just lying to me now. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
highly.
I was going to say we
identified-
could get into a big conversation about the political and cultural insensitivities behind The Simpsons, and that's probably part of it. Really, what you're just. Well, I don't know.
So at a young age, I knew I didn't like it. All right, and I was
Fair
like,
enough.
not allowed. I want cartoons that reflect what people actually kind of look like, I guess.
Reflect real life. That's what my cartoons should
More
be.
realistic
That's what I want.
cartoons.
So that's obviously why I watch Family Guy instead, because they are the most realistic out there.
I was just listening to your latest episode today, and I caught a lot of Family Guy references. So far, this is all on brand. With what I know about Alenka.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense.
She loves Family Guy. She hates The Simpsons, and she doesn't watch a lot of movies.
That's honestly all the description should be from now on. Because
it should be,
Family Guy better than Simpsons. Little symbol.
I think I'd get a lot of hate for that. Because I don't think I've met a single person that likes Family Guy more than The Simpsons.
You'd be right. I think it's just like
The
Simpsons just has a better legacy as a
they're around for longer.
Cultural legacy. True. Very true.
But I don't know. I don't watch them. I don't know what else they could contribute.
Speaking of things you don't watch, you haven't watched Sleepy Hollow, so I need to know what you think happens in this movie, Alenka.
Well, I feel like we are in some sort of, could we say, Victorian, perhaps Elizabethan era. Perhaps I don't know the difference of the two, but we'll just say of that time where they wore the sort of things, with the like collars that are very much look like my hands at the moment. Anyways, that's just for us. We don't need to describe what it looked like. Those types of era. And so some guy's just walking around late at night and he sees the fucking Headless Horseman guy. And I honestly, truly, I couldn't fathom what happens next.
What do you think he does to people?
He probably chops their head. He is a head collector. Yeah. So he chops around, chops the block around. And I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Some people like heads. Yeah.
This makes so much sense to me because, wow, I actually really didn't think that that's what he would do. Thank you. Thank you so much for that insight. Because I was always confused. I was like, okay, yeah, he's a spooky guy, but like, what's the conflict, I guess? Like, what's he doing? So
shouldn't we be trying to help this poor man?
Yeah. Well, he's a ghost, I guess. I am more terrified, I think, of his horse because I envision his horse as like a demon horse.
His horse is the best. The horse is like half of the horseman.
Is it?
Saga, I think.
I mean, he'd just be a man. He'd just be a min.
He would be headless. I'm curious as to where the pumpkin comes from. Like, why on earth was this headless dude just like, yo, instead of being freaking straight up headless, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to steal from this farmer's pumpkin patch. And I'm going to carve myself a face. Because if he's decapitating people, I only imagine he has heads at his disposal of which he could place there instead.
I think this movie kind of answers your question in a way, but probably what you're referring to is more like the Disney imagery that I think this movie then addresses more as a reference. I could be wrong about that. I don't think the pumpkin is as integral to the horseman as we have been led to believe as a society.
So he doesn't have a pumpkin head is what you're telling me.
No, he has no head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. I think I really got thrown off by Will's drink then. Also. He really pumpkin
That's true.
it.
There
are a lot of pumpkins in the movie, just not
I was given. Yeah.
There's a lot of pumpkin imagery, which is why I created this drink. Do you want to know about this drink, Alenka?
No, I think we could just go right into the movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's just skip it. So, Kristen, how does this movie start?
I'm drinking a delicious pumpkin-based beverage.
JK, let's hear about this statement.
Well, it's called Pumpkinhead only because, I did make this drink before I rewatched this movie. With a realization that we're going to get into later. But in like the original legend of Sleepy Hollow, the story, and the Disney movie, there is a lot of flaming pumpkin heads that he's holding and throwing around.
Really?
So that's kind of what I base that off of. Also, it's our last Spooky Movie Month episode, and I figure I got to be drinking it out of a pumpkin.
How did you do that?
So the pumpkin head is pumpkin puree. So, pumpkin pie filling, whatever you can get your hands on. A little bit of cream. I mix a little bit of cream in there to make it a bit more, liquidy. You're going to add some Fireball whiskey for the fire, the flaming pumpkin head.
Okay.
And then Amaretto for some extra alcohol and a little bit extra flavor.
Gotcha.
And then, a little bit of pumpkin spice seasoning. So you can buy that at a store, or I guess make your own with nutmeg and some other things that I'm not sure go into pumpkin spice seasoning. And then as a bonus, if you have a lot of time on your hands, grab like a mini pumpkin from the store and hollow it out and just pour the drink in there.
So is
some
it
extra pumpkin flavor?
Can I see it, please?
Yes. And I drilled a hole into the top of it so I could put my little metal spoon through.
That is very good.
Yeah.
I'm upset because I read the Facebook chat literally probably 45 minutes ago and realized how intense this beverage was and had to run to the grocery store. And on my way out, saw the mini pumpkins. But I was like, you know what? When I get home, I've got a great acorn squash that I was going to cook. But I think instead I will use it as my cup. And then I had chopped the bottom because I wanted to place it on the counter, and it was not of stable, wobbleness to do that. So I did that, and then Will sounded super fucking annoyed because I wasn't on the Zoom call yet. So I was like,
I did not.
I was like 10 minutes late.
Well, now that we've got the drink out of the way, it's time to drink ourselves through this movie.
Wait, never mind.
Oh. Wait.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I was like, let's hear how everybody didn't do what Will's recipe was, but I decided, it's fine. It's not necessary. We don't need to.
I just assume you're all drinking something delicious.
Oh, it's spark. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, the sparkling cider. I'm not sure with the cream. Is what Alenka's has got going on.
Well, yes, actually, I do have that. So,
but I wonder
for those of you at home that can't see, there's some separation going on in my beverage. I did use the pumpkin puree, and I used 40 Creek cream liqueur instead of cream because I didn't have that, and I thought, why not? I did cinnamon instead of the pumpkin pie spice because I couldn't find it, and yeah, I did put the sparkling in it, but I did the sparkling afterwards, and I think that's why it's separating. Because the bubbles are pushing all that cream and that puree up to the top, so it's thick.
Spooky.
I mean, nothing's grosser than like a creamy drink that it starts separating. Like, I don't want to drink that.
Yeah, because I'm just drinking that shit instead, and then I get to the drink, and I just can't do that to myself. I respect myself too much for that.
It's the real horror.
Yeah.
Well, Kristen, how does this movie start?
Well, it starts off so well. First of all, I wish I could sing the opening music. I know I talked about it, but the thing is I'm terrified about like copyright rules and things like that. But there's this amazing like child solo soprano voice that comes in, and it's just the most spookiest intro music.
I could do it. It's like,
that's close, yeah. You won't get in trouble for copyright anyway.
Now, is he a talented young man?
Bit.
Yeah. William or the singer in the film?
The singer. Yeah.
Very talented. Very talented.
I'm glad you went with that. Like that. Yeah, not me.
No, it's really iconic. The opening theme, everything's okay. So I'll just jump in. Everything's very dark and scary, obviously. And it starts off with, I guess what we'll discover later is a flashback, but I'll just tell you right now. and I guess it's in real time. The timeline of the film is going to be a fun thing that we'll explore over the course of this conversation.
Man, this is going to drive me buck wild.
No, it'll be great. It'll be great. I think I wrote copious notes that are like flashback number 1, flashback number 2. Anyway,
Okay, good.
So we see a bunch of things like, we see a man and a woman, just like, their hands, but they're signing papers. We don't quite know.
Marriage license. I know,
so
because I'm
papers.
smart.
There's a third name signing for a witness. And then we cut to a man in a carriage. And
spooky
it's a
already.
late night carriage ride. Yeah. And it was very blustery. And
we do
then
get like intense red imagery, like dripping blood, but it's actually wax, and he's sealing a letter, and it's but it's like,
and this is all
blood?
real life too. I keep thinking we're doing cartoons. So
No, it's real life.
So scary.
Although the blood in this movie is spectacular, like the way you described the wax dripping is pretty much setting the tone for all the blood we're going to see in the movie. And as far as I know, this is maybe like the first, if not only, Tim Burton film where there is so much blood. Like he
Sweeney
generally.
Todd.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Sweeney Todd got
but
that
we
blood.
don't count that for a few reasons.
Because that's
No,
fun
not
right?
blood.
What's that?
That's fun blood.
That's
it's musical and fun.
well.
Slashing throats.
In this case, it's all
watched
just
that
like
one.
super thick. Thick,
is, yeah.
bright red blood.
Wow, I just
against a very
remembered.
black and white palette.
Oh, is it black and white? Black and white? The movie's
Very
black and
like
white?
washed out. Not quite black and white, but very.
Like how my camera looks right now.
Yeah.
with the desaturation, kind of like that, but like not as
desaturation.
good.
So then also the blood is full saturation.
Yeah, very red. I think
Cool.
is how we would. I think we would describe that as full saturation.
That's a cut finger for you. There you go.
So,
That's 2.
Ooh. No, I've got a few of those. Yeah, so we're in a carriage, and there are all these creepy things happening. A lot of noises. Big noise. Old man looks out the window, and his driver has been decapitated.
Come on! Oh, come on! Already?
yeah,
What's
already
it
right
look
out
like?
of the gate. We've got
How
it
does he
heading.
see? Is there blood,
Well,
or
he's
is
got,
it just like
he's still driving the horses? He's like still holding the reins, but like just no head. And the old guy's like, "Oh, who's driving this thing?"
Yeah,
Is it like when
rigor mortis? He's holding on to it instantly.
He'll never let go now.
No.
Yeah.
How does that work actually when your head gets decapitated? I'm serious. Do you function still for a few minutes like a chicken?
I would imagine maybe not minutes, but I think maybe it's quite possible, like a minute, maybe. Scientist Kristen, but maybe.
Or do you think full collapse? Confusing. It's hard to say.
But I'm going to encourage you to let go of scientific fact.
Yes.
For the duration of this film and the decapitations therein.
Which is a theme in this film, so you better do it.
What, defying science or decapitation?
Just letting go of science and everything that you believe.
Yeah, that's
I'm stressed
pretty much
out.
the thesis statement of the film.
Yes.
So his driver loses his head. And the old guy gets out of the carriage. I don't quite remember how. Maybe he just like barrel rolls or something because he knows that there's a dead man driving, and he gets lost in a corn maze.
Imagery of a scarecrow with a pumpkin head.
Now we get a
on.
pumpkin head. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like scared for a second. Then, it was just a scarecrow. And then he turns around and bam, decapitated. We're not even 5 minutes in, 2 decapitations.
Yeah.
So just so
Who
you know.
is this man?
And it's not like Tarantino. It's not like blood spurting out. It's just kind of like head off, almost like no blood, just neck, bloody neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that's how we start.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, New York. We're in New York City.
Wait. Where were we before? What time are we in? I need to know now.
That's a good question. So we are we're in the US. We are
Too vague.
Well, okay, so we're in, I guess, the greater New York area because, Ichabod Crane is based in New York City, and Sleepy Hollow,
he's in Manhattan.
which is a real place, I believe.
Yeah.
Ew.
Or used to be, I think.
Google that. Okay.
So it's like, outside of, we'll say like a day's carriage ride outside of New York City, something like that.
So they're using carriages. So what year are we in?
Okay, I don't know. I think the turn of the century, because at the end of the movie, doesn't Johnny Depp say something about like it's a new century?
Yeah.
So I think we're in
1799.
17.
Oh. Yeah, so we're post-Revolutionary War, pre-Civil War, 1799.
Pre-1799.
Yeah.
I guess that checks out. Yeah. Yeah, because I always think, I guess
out.
you're right. No,
I love that.
No, I'm just thinking. But yeah, post-Revolutionary War is the most important point you're going to get, right? Like Hamilton.
So the
times.
Revolutionary War.
Well,
Yeah,
that was
basically
during the Revolutionary War. So right after Hamilton times, right?
Right after Hamilton. Yeah.
Guys, I did not get into the Hamilton hype.
No, neither did I. I didn't either,
No,
but
no,
like,
no.
you know, we don't need to get into
You're
Hamilton.
No. Alexander Hamilton.
How does a headless horseman?
I only know it from Family Guy.
Did they do a Hamilton reference?
Well, Stewie was going to therapy, and then he was like, "Can I please? I should be on Broadway." And he's like, "Can I please sing you the excerpt from Hamilton?" And the therapist is like, and he's like, "Please, I'm really good at it." And then he does it, but for some reason, he's like got this snot booger slowly coming down his nose, and eventually he gets like into his mouth, and he just like pushes through, and he's just like got this nasty snot in his mouth, and he's still. Killer performance.
Great.
Stewie Griffin.
Just like
ought
the
to
Blair
be
Witch.
on.
Seth MacFarlane just likes any opportunity to sing.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Which are my favorite episodes.
Yeah, mine too. You know what? You're right. But
they're the best.
Anyway. So this isn't Hamilton. This is post-Hamilton times. Ichabod Crane is in New York City, where he is.
It is.
Like a would-be forensic scientist.
Yeah, well, he's like a constable.
He's a detective.
Ichabod Crane is.
Yeah. He's like a detective, but he has a particular interest in forensic science, which is not a thing yet. Mm-hmm. So everyone thinks he's disgusting.
And he's
this is like CSI 1799. That's what this is. That's what he is.
Ichabod Crane is Johnny Depp.
Yes, 100%.
And Ichabod Crane is not the ghost.
No.
That's the Headless Horseman.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought they were the
he doesn't
same
have
person.
a name.
He's headless and nameless. Yes.
Aww.
Yeah, he doesn't have. He doesn't have a lot. But what he does have,
I cannot wait till we reveal who plays
has a lot
him
of
because
heads.
Aww.
Yeah. No, he's. Oh, spectacular. Okay. So yeah, he's in New York City, and he's like, he pulls a body out of the. I was going to say the Thames. So I'm like, we're not in London. Yeah, the river. He pulls a body out and is like, we have to operate on him and figure out what happened. And the like head constable or something is like, that's not something we do. We don't cut open dead bodies. And everybody thinks Ichabod Crane is like a complete lunatic because he wants to perform autopsies, which don't exist yet.
Right. They're just like, you must also be a murderer because you have these weird.
Why do you want to cut open dead people so badly? Basically,
yeah.
And he goes. Oh, also, so then he's like in a jail where they're like, "Oh, we caught this guy for burglary. What should we do?" And they're like, "I don't know, throw him in the pit." And they throw him like into a sewer dungeon, which apparently was going on in New York City at this time.
Yeah.
It was like the 17 somethings.
Yeah. 1799.
Throw burglars in the sewer.
There was no rights in 1799 for anyone.
There's no forensics. There's no rights. It's just madness.
It's a free for all.
Yeah.
This is why you don't do crime.
But we see Johnny Depp. He's, this bastion of science and law and order. And he's like, this is not good. We need to study bodies. We need to figure out who commits crimes and why.
Yeah, so wait, reasoning.
Yes.
So this guy was alive and they threw him in this sewer. And Johnny's reaction was, excuse me, could have done brain surgery to figure out why this guy's such a fucking weirdo.
You know what? I'm talking about two different guys.
Yeah,
the first guy is dead already. This is a new guy who they bring in like right when they're talking about the dead guy, and they're like, "What do we do with this guy who stole something?"
Yeah.
It's honestly just a one-off shot of how they treat all
but
criminals.
then the next shot was just like Johnny Depp stewing and being like, "Huff, our friggin' policing system is bad. I need to cut up some people to see how they do it."
Basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like he
He's
just
just huffing and
basically
puffing.
explains that to the other constable who's like, "You're ridiculous," and
What's
moves
his
on with
proof
his day.
exactly? Like how, like in real life, how did they even try to like convince people this was going to work?
That's a good question.
Yes, yeah.
And this movie does not really answer that scientifically. Like his
Sorry, I know,
methods
we
are
said
insane.
drop it. I'm sorry.
No,
Okay, good.
it's going to come back. It's going to come back. But it won't explain anything. It'll just get weirder.
Yeah. We jump to like a courtroom scene where he is like, is he being a lawyer now, or is he just presenting evidence? I don't
I feel
understand.
like in
what
that
the
day,
scene is.
you could
act
literally
like a
do
lawyer.
everything.
Yeah,
You're
he's
like,
just
you're a doctor. You could also be a judge, you know? Like, I feel like back then they're just like, you've got some credentials. Well, sure.
He's also like quilling out the court transcript because he's the stenographer as well, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a ton of talents, and he believes in reason and logic and justice. And he
What a
makes this
loser.
very clear in the courtroom while a man is like in an Iron Maiden torture
Oh, yes.
device. And
What
he's
is
like,
that?
"What are we doing here?" So it's like, oh, this is going to come up again. So it's a
scared.
torture device from like the medieval ages, I guess. And it's like a human-sized thing. It's like a cage that you go into. It's like shaped like a sarcophagus, and it's got spikes all around you, so you can't really move.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the idea is that it also is used to kill you or torture you by actually stabbing you. But this guy's not
the
at that
fuck?
stage yet. He's just being locked up in one.
Yeah.
They were just, what the fuck? Yo, they think Johnny Depp is fucked? Like, look at the shit you're doing. What the
That's
fuck?
the irony of it is he's saying, why are you calling me the
Mhm.
creep?
Now, this is a Tim
Ew.
Burton highly stylized movie. I honestly feel like I don't know if Iron Maidens were really used in the States at that point in time.
I don't think so. I really don't think
No?
so.
It does feel like a very Elizabethan. That's more medieval time period.
It's a very old device that I don't think they were using anymore. I think they were just like hanging people. They also keep talking.
They were
Johnny
just
Depp
hanging
keeps.
people.
Yeah, that, you know, it's like Johnny Depp keeps talking about like, we keep using these medieval devices of torture. And I'm like, yeah, it is unusual. So he's pointing it out while it is going on. And then, of course, the judge in the courtroom is,
Christopher Lee,
which is very exciting.
which is like nothing
Who
to
dat?
Alenka. That is Saruman from Lord of the Rings. You don't know that either. He played Dracula, right?
Wait.
Yeah, he was a Dracula.
Is that guy from Lord of the Rings the other
Wizard?
Gandalf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
You got it.
There you go.
I know him. He's the one with the gray streak or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, he's got full gray hair, but
Well, Gandalf has gray hair,
yeah.
but their hairs are different types of gray. I noticed.
Well, to begin with, but come the Two Towers, they both have very similar hair.
what the fuck?
We could have a separate episode about the hairstyles in Lord of the Rings in the entire series. Actually, I think Gandalf's the only one who changes up what he's doing, come to think of it.
Like a spin-off podcast, you're a hairstylist. We talk about hairstyles in movies.
Oh my god, I would love that. That would actually be
awesome.
I would be so knowledgeable about what we were talking about, and I wouldn't feel like a fucking idiot every time. It'd be amazing. Anyways, let's just
we get some good hair in this movie.
revel
I
in
think.
how much of a dum-dum I am. Is it the braid? Is it the little ponytail at the back? Is it that one with the?
You're thinking
like,
of the cartoon for
is it-
Ichabod?
Yeah, no, I am 100%.
That's the cartoon. Johnny Depp.
I was hoping it was
has
the
just
same.
like a nice, like Bob,
Yeah.
nice Johnny
Nice,
Bob
yeah.
going.
A nice
Johnny
bob. It's got a nice
Like-
one length going on. It's very cute.
It's
Very fashion.
I'm telling you, like look wise, peak Johnny Depp. Peak Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Bob.
He's looking good.
When you say Bob, I really do think of Willy Wonka Bob. Is that what we've seen?
No, not Willy Wonka, but his skin's the same tone for sure in this movie.
Willy Wonka's hair. Oh, Johnny Depp is Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
I see. No.
Very sleek. Almost coconut heady.
And I think that had bangs involved that are not involved in this one.
Okay.
Okay. Before we get too lost into hairstyles,
sorry.
This is still like the first 5-10 minutes of the movie.
I know.
So
I'm
early
sorry.
on.
I'm so sorry.
Christopher Lee as the judge, he's all like,
Right.
he's listening
That's
to Johnny
cool.
Depp being like, we have to deduce who did these crimes. Like, we have to use induction instead of these medieval torture devices. So he's like, well, Johnny, that's my best impression of Christopher Lee.
It's not bad so far.
Sounded
doesn't say
good.
Johnny,
to
he
me.
says
Keep going.
Well, Ichabod.
He's like, you will deduce who committed these murders in the tiny hamlet of Sleepy Hollow.
Mhm.
Why? Oh, because that's where they
Gandalf.
happened, I'm guessing.
Yes.
The murders that we're about to learn about. We haven't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we saw the first two.
Yeah,
So,
so-
okay, it is the...
Yeah, but he
There's a ton
informs-
of murders going on in Sleepy
It is.
Hollow.
The judge informs Ichabod that there's been 3 murders in Sleepy Hollow. There's 1 second. There is
I think it's raining outside.
a wealthy father and son. So that's the father who's in the carriage, and the son, I think, is the one who was was controlling the carriage. Is that who?
Oh,
we're
I
supposed to
somehow
see?
didn't know that.
I don't know. It just says wealthy father and son, and
Couldn't be that wealthy if his
Those are
son was
3
the
people
driver,
who have
am I
been
right?
Killed so far.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
and he's going to be sent to discover who committed these murders, and he knows that they were decapitated.
Yeah, Christopher Lee does this thing where he slowly points his finger and says, like, it is up to you, Ichabod Crane, to decide, to discover who did it. And it's very like, oh, well, that's the thesis statement of the film is, or who will be put to the test, or you will be on trial with this, basically.
He's like,
Really?
you, Ichabod, will be put to the test. It's such a weird line. Like,
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
and thus begins a super long credit reel of the movie.
Gorgeous, where we get the like the creepy voices and the all of the names of the cast and the production team are like floating into the ether. It's
We haven't seen that at all yet, eh?
No credits yet.
How
Really.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like it's all just a very long carriage ride where he's like looking at the autumnal atmosphere of New York. He's opening up his
Autumnal
journal.
being autumn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You got it.
Perfect. Yay.
Yeah, this all happens around the spooky season, which is why this is a perfect
Obviously.
movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's like looking through his diary, which has a lot of notes about like reason plus deduction equal best. Like just more proof that he's really into just like science and logic.
Yeah.
He also
he's
has a
gonna
toy that's one of those optical illusions. On one side is a bird, and the other side is a cage. And when you spin it, it looks like the bird's in the cage, and that's going to come up like a million times. And I don't think for any real relevant metaphor.
Yeah, it's very just side story. Like that whole
Don't
side story is
believe
like,
what you see, kind of
there's
thing.
a side story, and we'll get into it. But I'm just like, okay, what if this happened too?
So he we know he likes drawing. We know that
That's
he likes like tools,
This is
like
Tinder
instruments
profile?
of science.
Yeah, Ichabod's Tinder profile.
He likes reason and deduction. I just jotted down little things that I noticed, like, what does he like? And then he gets to the town, and there's like typical superstitious small town stuff going on. Like as he walks through, he's a stranger, so like people are shutting their windows.
So silly.
It's quiet, and he's like, this doesn't seem like a happy place.
And he looks over as he's walking by. He looks over and he sees like a father and son. And the son's hugging the dad. The dad's got like a rifle, and he's being stationed in like this. Oh, it's like a watchtower where he's presumably being stationed to watch out for the Headless Horseman.
Yeah, he's like got his shotgun, and he's got his like son, and we see a tender moment between what appears to be a son and a father. So we immediately know that he's gonna die. He's gonna die. Like,
The father or the son?
the father.
The Faja.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad. But it's
He's
like
a little
the
boy,
first-
the son?
Yeah, he's like 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
On the cusp of being a man in those times,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we go to the party.
Big manor, and it's the manor of the people who sent for him, basically. And there is pumpkin heads, with candles. There's jack-o'-lanterns all around. Again, it's very big imagery in this movie, which is why I based the drink on it.
Right.
But he walks up to this manor, and he does see some shadows making out beside the door. He doesn't see who it is, but they're making out. Yeah,
it's clearly a lady and a gentleman who are making out in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There are a lot of moments where Tim Burton is like, "This is important, or is it?" And that's one of them.
Yeah.
Is it not important?
Oh, it's important.
It is, yeah.
It just didn't need
the headless.
You were just like, oh, this is a fun moment. He's like, ooh, this is awkward. Making out people.
And he's just like, it's Johnny Depp, like,
yeah,
Jack Sparrow eyes as he's like, that's unorthodox, and just enters into the party.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I do feel like he was definitely
Johnny
trying
eyes.
he was trying out some Jack Sparrowness in this movie. Pre Jack Sparrow.
It's just this thing of like he's staring off with like a very haunted look, and someone saying something, and
he's
he
never
just
heard anyone
responds
make out
with no actual emotion, but just perplexed, like anxiety almost. Like he's just constantly like outraged and afraid by everything. And yeah, I think this was like Mark 1 of like, how does Jack Sparrow cope with his reality? I don't know. It's kind of fascinating in a way.
I want to watch a movie tonight now.
You should watch
Not this
Hollow.
one.
It's good.
But something.
See how well we did.
If it's on Netflix, maybe.
Fine. It's not, unfortunately.
You guys gotta pick a better movie.
Yeah, so at this party, there's a game going on, and it seems to me like the worst idea for a game in this time and place, because it's Christina Ricci has a blindfold on, and there are a bunch of young gentlemen surrounding her in a circle, and she's like, who's got to kiss for the Pickety Witch or something? And basically whoever she catches, it's like blind man's bluff, but when she catches you, you get a kiss. I'm like, first of all, a game that's about like, I'm a witch in this part of America at this time seems like a bad idea.
True, very true.
But it's just like a bunch
comes
of
up
men.
A lot in this movie. Just a bunch of men who would love for Christina Ricci to kiss them.
Right?
She's like the most eligible lady. She's like, I think, the only young woman in town who we'll see.
It's true. I just realized that.
There's the servant girl, Sarah.
The servant girl. Yes, the servant girl. Yeah.
Don't forget Sarah.
But you know what? Sarah is also widely sought after. So I think it's just the two of them.
True. Very true.
Okay.
Everyone else is married or something.
Ichabod,
or old,
as
whatever.
expected, wanders in the middle of this circle. She grabs Ichabod and gives him. Well, he's like, "Now who have I?" And he she tries to guess who it is.
Outraged again.
And he's like, "I am but a humble stranger."
Oh,
and
come on,
or something like that. And then she kisses him on the cheek, and then she takes off her blindfold, realizing this is not anyone I know. And of course, her fucking some sort of boyfriend or something is immediately there to be like, we haven't got your name, stranger.
Okay.
Yeah, this was clearly the guy who was going to marry him before Ichabod, or marry her before Ichabod shows up.
So they get married.
Because he's like the most eligible guy in town, I guess.
Sure.
It's just, And it's Casper Van Dien. I don't really know anything about him.
Really envision this as Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, he could play. He could play.
He's a pretty Gaston type.
Yeah.
Gaston. How do you say his name?
Gaston.
It doesn't matter.
Gaston.
Gaston.
No, I'm being
we'll call
silly.
him Gus.
You can say Gaston.
Gus. Yeah.
It's Gus.
No, it's
Gary.
Gas. Yeah.
It's Gas. Hey, Gas. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, so Gaston is like, who the fuck is this? He's not happy about Ichabod Crane coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will
say this is the daughter of the man who sent for Ichabod. I believe it's the man or the town sent for Ichabod.
Van Tassel.
Yeah, Baltus Van Tassel, and this is the daughter, Katrina. Yeah,
Von
and he's played
Tassel.
by.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So Christina Ricci is Katrina Von Tassel.
Yeah. Amazing.
Tassel.
They're all supposed to be Dutch, by the way. This is supposed to be a Dutch town.
Okay.
Not really that important. They don't really play
Of
that
Dutch
up, but it's a Dutch
heritage,
town.
perhaps. I'm sure.
So here's the thing that I've been waiting for, like, when am I going to talk about the accents? So you have to understand that it makes no sense. The fact that, so Johnny Depp has an English accent.
Yeah.
From
New York.
What else? Yeah. Which you could argue, okay, so like this is a pretty new colony, like from England. I guess they would have English accents. I don't have a problem with that.
One or two generations from settlers, I guess, basically.
Sure, yeah. So I'm fine with that.
So it should be gone.
Except, it's a little like, why is it quite so British? But
Yeah, it's a little too British, but yeah.
Meanwhile, Michael Gambon, who is Dumbledore,
what
is Baltus Van Tassel.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Michael
Gambon
is
who
Baltus.
plays
not
Dumbledore.
He plays.
He's the guy who plays Dumbledore. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Who's
After
Ian
Richard
McKellen?
Harris. Ian McKellen is Gandalf. So you're not into Harry Potter either?
No, I am.
I don't really care for Harry Potter.
I didn't know Dumbledore was in this. Who's Dumbledore again?
Michael Gambon.
And who is? So he's the who?
He's the Baltus Van Tassel. He's like
he's
the host
this
of
is confusing me, right? Because the judge is also of a long-haired old man.
Hey, you know what? We're never going to see Christopher Lee again. He's gone.
That's a big get for such a
he's gone.
Small part.
Well, Tim Burton always has time for Christopher Lee.
That's true.
And so do I, really. But Michael Gambon, on the other hand, I don't know. But he's good in this. So he's the head of the town. Like the pillar of the town.
What's he look like?
Oh, an old white guy with
no beard.
No beard.
No beard. Michael Gambon.
Does he wear a wig? Most of the old white guys in this movie wear wigs, but I don't remember if he does.
Early wigs. I don't know if he does.
No, I think he just puts it in like a low pony.
He's one of those
pony. Yeah, like a low
something breezy.
Low pony. Just wanted something easy today.
The shoulders. Yeah.
That's great.
So yeah,
and his wife is with him, the Lady Van Tassel.
Yeah, no name, just the lady.
Oh no! Well, her name is.
What is? I forget now.
I know her last name is Archer, but I don't remember. It'll come to me. The first name will come to me.
And
but played by Miranda Richardson, who plays Rita Skeeter in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah,
unfamiliar. Not familiar with who that is.
All right, I'm going to drop the references, but she's a great actor.
She's Katrina's stepmother, so that's an important part too.
Katrina is Christina Ricci.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
This is going to be very difficult.
Well, once everybody's introduced, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be okay. It'll get easier.
All right.
So what else? So he goes to talk. Accents. I was just going to say. So Miranda Richardson, who is English, puts on an American accent. And I'm like, I think it's because they make a point about like she was born and raised in the woods or something.
True.
So I'm like, maybe that's why they were like, you have to have an American accent, which doesn't really make sense. But that's
should have a wolf accent.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that's going to be important later on, but we don't know too much about that yet.
Yeah. When they say born and raised in the woods, do they mean like a small
not like a wild
village?
We'll get to that. But she's like a normal lady. She's just a normal lady. Yes. But like she's perhaps more I don't want to say American than like the Van Tassels, except for Christina Ricci, who's attempting a half English fancy accent that's awful. Her accent is dreadful.
Yeah, it's not the greatest.
Michael Gambon keeps his English accent. All of the old white guys keep their English accents.
Yeah. So basically, they were like, "Hello, Ichabod. Like, yes, we'll take you to your room, and then meet us in the study or whatever." And he when he's up in his room, and then the servant girl comes in and is
Sarah?
all like, "Yes," and she's like, "Thank God you're here, sir," and then leaves, and it's kind of weird.
A haunted face.
Yeah, the haunted
she
face.
leaves.
Wait, what?
So that's did we lose a leg cut?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I lost her video, but
there we go.
Oh yeah, she's frozen on video. There you go. You can turn off video if you want, like if it's slowing you down.
Yeah, so I just wanted to take the second to talk about those accents, and I think I got it. I think it's just terrible overall. It's a little confusing.
They're pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so then he goes and after Sarah says, "Thank God you're here," he goes to talk to Baltus Van Tassel, Magistrate Phillips.
Yes.
Amazing.
And that's Richard Griffiths, right?
Who's Mr. Dursley?
Mr. Dursley, Uncle Dursley from Harry Potter.
You guys need to stop.
Actually, I saw him in
thought
Equus.
I knew Harry Potter. Ew, that's the horse one, right?
You're like, I am a fan of Harry Potter. I don't know anything yet. But,
yes, I saw it with him and Daniel Radcliffe. So that was pretty cool.
You went and you saw Equus with Daniel Radcliffe and that other man that you mentioned earlier. How amazing.
Yeah, it was a high school trip to London. It was fantastic.
Wait, for real? Now I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
That's rude.
Is it rude?
No, I just hear he's nude in it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
like
once,
the play?
it's enough. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
He wasn't like, I think he was over 18 at the time.
Well, I know.
I believe.
Yeah, you're like suddenly like.
I was like 17, so
no, he was probably. I feel like he was probably in his 20s.
I think you have to do nudity on the stage. I think there's rules
on the stage.
On the stage,
I don't know. I don't know. Is there rules when it's on the stage? It's all for art.
Oh yeah. Well, that's another podcast. Okay, yeah. So these guys are all talking about the murders that are going on, and they're like, yeah. So this guy died. This guy died. This guy died. It's pretty awful. Ichabod Crane is like, so are there any suspects? Or I shall have to find the suspects. And they all look at him and they're like, you didn't get the memo? Like, we know who did it. And he's like, who did it? And they're like, the Headless Horseman. And he's like, no, this is a bunch of, I don't know, superstitious weirdies.
Yeah. So they go over, they tell the story of the Headless Horseman. And it's very Dracula, like Bram Stoker's Dracula opening. It's very like that, where he's like, the Headless Horseman was they believe is like the undead, ghost of the headless Hessian mercenary.
Yeah.
Who was
What's that?
So the Hessians were like a German type of soldier, mercenary, yeah. And like the English hired them out to fight in the American Revolution for England. So a lot of them actually apparently settled in America after the fact, or they were like captured and treated awfully or something.
So they're telling a story, and guess who plays the Headless Hessian mercenary?
I don't fucking know.
Christopher Walken.
Shut the fuck
It's so good.
up.
He looks amazing. He's perfect. I can't tell you.
His hair is fucking crazy, like all over the place. And then they talk about how the mercenary would chisel his teeth down into spikes to scare his enemies. So he's got spiky teeth.
And like so contact, like crazy, like really intense contact lenses. He looks incredible. He's wearing like a very Edward Scissorhands-ish like leather uniform, but with a beautiful cape. And
and now when I first watched this as a kid, I obviously wasn't as familiar with like who actors are, so he terrified the shit out of me. But then rewatching it, I'm like, what the fuck? That's Christopher Walken.
That's
and
so
the whole
funny.
movie, when we see Christopher Walken as the Headless Horseman, he doesn't speak German. He just goes, ah.
Yeah, he doesn't really speak at all. He just groans. Oh, it's so scary.
I was gonna say, I feel like his voice would really ruin it for me.
Yeah, he's not like, hey, I'm the Headless Horseman.
Yeah, exactly.
For the most part, he's headless. So that's not even really an issue. And when he is headless, he is played by Ray Park, I believe, who was a stunt guy who he was in Star Wars
he
Episode
was
1 as Darth Maul. He was Toad
Also,
in X-Men, I think.
Speaking of Star Wars, we should also mention that one of the old white men in the room is Ian McDiarmid, who plays the Emperor in Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's a nice little I
I'm
don't see it anywhere else but Star Wars kind of moment.
Yeah.
And Michael Gough, who was Alfred in the Batman movies that Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher.
Yes.
No, I don't
Yes.
care, actually.
Yeah, he's the doctor, right?
those.
Yeah, he's the doctor.
What do you mean you don't care about Michael
That's
Gough?
the worst one.
Oh no. Anyway,
Sorry.
It's a really amazing flashback. And what we learn is that he was attacked by American soldiers, or he was fighting them, and he was running in the woods with his horse. He was known for being like brutally violent and good at killing. So that's why he was being hunted finally. And he's in the woods and he's trying to be very quiet because they're looking for him. And he sees two little girls, two little blonde girls who are identical, I guess. And one of them sees
braids.
No,
never mind.
One has bangs and one doesn't. For some reason, I noted the distinction, but they have long blonde hair. And one of them, they're wearing surprisingly fancy pink dresses too.
Cute.
One of them runs away and the other one doesn't. She just like maintains eye contact with him, and he like tries to get her to stay quiet. And she takes a branch and just, and the soldiers come and murder him. So this little girl, something's up. First of all, it's a great scene. Mm-hmm. They murder him. They bury him in the woods.
And they chop his damn head off.
Oh, yeah. That's
How did they murder him then?
Well, they cut his head
off.
Oh, got you. Okay. Well, I just thought it was in addition. They had also chopped his head.
No, that's how they murdered him.
I mean, I think they like stabbed him 10 times or something too. They really had to like go for it.
They wanted to make sure. And yet...
we kind of get this like tragic scene where you just see his burial mound and his poor horse, who we did see actually get shot. So his horse, who we assume is undead now, because the horse is up and just standing by his grave, like pawing at it or hoofing it. Yeah, it's very sweet, really, in a way that like, because really the only thing he loved was his horse.
It's true. He treats his horse very well.
What's its name? They specify his name, and I don't remember. It's a really nice. Let's see. Headless Horseman horse. Real quick.
I'm not sure.
Figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll figure it
so
out.
anyway, they're like, it's this dude. He's killing us. He's the one chopping people's heads off, and he collects the heads, and he rides around his horse looking for his own head. That's why he haunts Sleepy Hollow.
Oh,
yeah.
Wouldn't he know it? Like, if obviously if it's attached to a fucking body, it's not your head. Dumb.
Well, we don't know why he wants these heads yet, do we?
Yeah, we don't.
I don't know if he wants to wear them. But I don't think so. So, so that's a really great flashback. And Ichabod Crane is like, I don't believe any of that. It is obviously not like a ghost that is running around murdering people. It is obviously a human person, and I'm going to figure out who it is. So that's his take on it. And they're all like, well, good luck, because you're wrong, because we've all seen that it is a Headless Horseman.
Yeah. Meanwhile, so after they tell the story and he's all like spooked by it, and he's like, well, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. We cut back to the Watchman in the Watchman Tower, and he is like pointing his gun out the forest. It's all foggy and real cool, and all these deer like run out of it, and he hears galloping, and then basically I think he like hears the galloping towards him, and he's all scared, which is kind of weird. It's like, why did you get out of the tower? Because immediately we cut to him running in the forest away
Why
from the
did you
Headless
leave
Horseman.
The tower?
Yeah, it's just like, you're pretty safe up there. I don't know if
you were
that
up there with a rifle. Like, what was the incentive? That's a good point.
So now he's running through the forest away from the horseman, and the horseman kills him, runs him down. Yeah.
The horseman's name is Daredevil, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Really?
Yeah. Daredevil?
Oh, the horse. The horse's name.
Horse.
No,
the
horseman's
yes, thank
name.
you. Thank you.
The horseman is Marvel Comics.
His name is Mr. Spectacular. No.
Daredevil.
Yeah, so the guy who The guy who died is the servant Mazbeth. We know that.
Yeah.
Mazbeth, the
name.
servant.
Mazbeth.
Yes. So in the morning, they're like, well, another guy died, so you better go do your detective work to Ichabod. So he gets on a horse named Gunpowder. For some reason, I'm very fixated on the horse names in this movie.
Yeah.
And like
What
Gunpowder's
color
a dud.
horse?
He's like a slow, chubby little pony. He's
Oh.
like gray dappled
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, he's
Little
very sweet.
bean.
And Ichabod Crane is clearly like uncomfortable with
Yeah.
this.
He does not like horses.
He doesn't really like anything.
No, he's uncomfortable with anything that's not deduction and reason.
Yeah.
He's perpetually uncomfortable. I mean, especially because you're like, is it because he's a city boy and he loves New York City and he's just not used to rural living? But like, he's not comfortable with the way they do things in New York either.
No.
So just, he's out of place
It's a
everywhere.
man out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guy.
Yeah, so he shows up to like where the dead body is, and all the other old white guys are there, and he does his whole detective thing. He like opens up a little case with like glasses,
Funny
with
goggles.
Yeah, very Tim Burton glasses where he can magnify, and then also he like yells at I think it's the doctor. He's like, "Did you move the body?" And he's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Never move the body." And then he's
Why
like,
not?
"Why?" And then Johnny Depp doesn't answer him because
He's like, just because.
Don't
Like,
move the
really?
body.
Like, I'm not a scientist by any means, and I can already give you like 10 reasons why you might not want to move the body at a crime scene, but that's fine.
Wait,
They didn't
he didn't
know.
know.
They don't
know
have
that
the
he was
2020
inventing all
knowledge.
these
He
things.
just knew it was a bad
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
He thought it
Ichabod
was.
Crane is inventing everything. Yeah, everything.
Smartest
that we
man
would then
alive,
watch on
Ick
TV
Crane.
for the last 10 years.
And like none of his science makes sense. He pulls like a vial of white powder out from his case and sprinkles it around the like neck wound, the open neck, and like a reaction, like a puff of smoke happens. He's like, this means that there was a big force that caused the head to fly off. And you're like, well, yeah, but also like,
Obviously.
what is that powder?
True.
He uses science that makes no sense.
But one
And then
thing
when
in that. Oh wait! I
No,
think you were
no,
gonna say-
no, go.
Well, the one thing that really it catches him off guard, and this is where you're like, "Ooh, maybe it is a ghost." Is the head wound was immediately cauterized when it was sliced, meaning the sword would had to have been like super hot, hellfire hot, as the priest says.
Pastor or whatever
Yeah.
is like, hell's
Interesting.
on fire or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, I get. And Ichabod Crane
Okay.
rolls his eyes at that, like, that's absurd. And it's like, okay, I don't know. I'm not, all of this is absurd. Yeah. And like something else gross happens. Like he's looking at the neck wound and he like peels it open because he's a
Ew.
gross little guy. And then like a bug comes out and he's like,
Ew! Ew!
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of just like, wouldn't it be gross if like
We did this.
Ew!
yeah. So and when he gets back to town, they have the funeral for him, and young Mazbeth is the boy who earlier, of course, was like clearly demonstrating that he was this man's son. And he's like,
Right.
hey, I would love to come work for you. And Ichabod Crane is like, no. And he's like, well, I
No,
have
sorry,
nowhere
honey.
else.
Yeah, he's like, my
So-
mom's dead, my dad. So he doesn't have a mom. His mom died a long time ago. Dad's dead, and he's like, I'm your man. But he says it in a very like, it's like, I am the young Mazbeth, here to now to avenge my father's death, or something. Like he says.
Now
it
I am
very
the only
formally.
Mazbeth.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's very
Can you imagine
strange.
the weight
And
of that scenario? Shocking.
well, the other thing is he's like, I have nowhere to go. And I'm kind of like, you do have a house, I guess. Like, where's
You've
your
got
dad's
a
house?
Inheritance. Like,
You're 14
Yeah, true.
go to
in
New
the
York
True.
City.
1799. You can work.
He can do whatever
Yeah.
the fuck he wants, man.
Yeah.
Stiff upper lip. You're fine. No, he
Yeah.
wants to work
Yeah.
for Ichabod Crane and I guess solve his
True.
father's murder. He's a cute little kid with a half English accent again.
Yeah, is he? He's
Um,
not supposed to be Mr. Toad, right? Like that's not. He's not supposed to be representative
Yeah.
of that. Who's Mr. Toad? Do we
He's
know
a
who that is?
Oh,
From the
Is he
Wizard
an
of
actual
Willows.
toad? Oh.
Mr. Toad is a toad. He's a frog. Yeah, he's a toad.
Wait, those are connected? Ichabod, like the original story?
No, they just, I think it's just that Disney had like 2 short stories and made them one film. They're not, they're not in the same universe. The Wind in the Willows is something else from Sleepy Hollow, but that would be really funny if you were then all of a sudden there's this toad wearing a suit that shows up. I kind of would love that idea.
He's his partner in crime. Oh my God.
Mr. Badger shows up and he's very upset. Yeah. He's very unhappy with the murders going on. And the kid isn't surprisingly good spirits, given that his father was just murdered by a headless horseman. He's like, hey, I'd love to come work with you if you'll have me. So that's the new relationship there.
But the major piece of information from this particular scene, other than that now he's got this kid working for him, is the magistrate. As everyone's leaving, the magistrate approaches Ichabod and he's like, the Mazbeth is actually the 5th victim of the Headless Horseman.
That's right.
And that so far we think he's the 4th. And he's like, the 5th. And he's like, yes, 4 graves, 5 victims.
Why is that?
He says it in riddles. I don't know why, but he does.
Well, because if he gave it away, yeah. There's a lot of secrets in this town, and everybody's very protective of their secrets.
Secrets.
Secrets. So with that in mind, is the next scene where, So he goes to the doctor's office, and my favorite is the way he interacts with the doctor's office, because he constantly barges in and is like, I need to use the operating table, and throws everything off it. And poor Emperor Palpatine, the town doctor, is like, what are you doing to my room?
Fuck Palpatine.
And he throws a dead body on the operating table and is like, we're gonna operate. And he says, but she's dead. And he says, I'm gonna need the operating table to perform an autopsy. So again, this is unheard of at the time.
The scene before this, real quick, is the next morning. The boy joins Ichabod with some other men, and they exhume all 4 of the victims.
That's right.
And that's where he discovers a stab wound in the belly of the widow. Victim. So
was she carrying a baby?
Yeah, exactly. We didn't need to perform an autopsy.
Did that motherfucker? She had a child. Why the fuck did that asshole stab the belly if he's looking for heads? Huh?
I don't know.
Riddle me that, motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
Well, we will later.
Is he also a father?
Yeah, he impregnated her. No, the Headless Horseman did not have a baby, as far as I know.
Okay.
I don't think nothing is working for him in that department. So
I just don't think he's interested.
He only headless.
He only loves horses, but not in that way.
So he was also an Equus.
This would be a very different Tim Burton movie.
He could have.
Yeah.
All right. We don't need to ever talk about that.
Yeah. So he deduces that she was with child, which the dude could have just told him, but secrets.
Sure.
But he comes out of the operating room just covered in blood, and all these 4 old white men are like, "What did you do to her?"
Yeah, which I think is hilarious.
Did he go diving into the body?
Covered in blood to the point where, and he's got blood in his mouth. Like Tim Burton's thing in this movie is we're going to cover Johnny Depp in blood. And he said that in interviews. The whole point of this is we want him covered in blood. It's in his mouth. And I'm like, for all that you love science and reason, why have you not realized that perhaps getting the blood of a corpse that's been dead for weeks into your... Good. That you have to know that that's not good for you.
You got to know.
And also, how is it bleeding that much?
Yeah, no.
How is there all this blood? It's insane.
And also,
but that's the whole
why
point
didn't you wipe that off, you sick thing?
He's coming out wiping his hands, but it's doing nothing. It's
not his... Smushing around more.
And and he says she is with child, and they all look at him like no one's surprised or whatever. They're like,
cool.
Okay. And then we get to the prank.
Why did they even have this guy come then?
Yes. This is kind of kind of what I base my drink out of a little bit. But
so
this is
I
the
was like,
reference to flaming
take this over to
pumpkins.
William.
But it's in the night, and he's on his horse, Ichabod is, and he crossing, a covered bridge. Gunpowder. And then in the distance, we hear like echoing voices. They're all like, Ichabod, Ichabod.
Oh, yucky.
So, someone's got some reverb tools out there. And basically, he turns around and the Headless Horseman is there holding a flaming pumpkin head.
What? He's just there?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, he's there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he chases after Ichabod and, like on their horse. And then basically, and then he finally gets close enough to him and he throws the flaming pumpkin head at him and he hits him in the head.
Oh.
And he falls off his horse. And the Headless Horseman just like gallops on by. And then we see the Headless Horseman arrive, and then some men approach him, and we realize it actually wasn't the Headless Horseman. It was that motherfucker who loves Katrina. Brom plays a prank on him. He like dressed up as the Headless Horseman.
What an ass.
Yeah, they play. Yeah,
he had
was
a pumpkin head, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, he was carrying the pumpkin head.
He was carrying it, yeah.
So then Johnny Depp faints for the first time that we see. He's gonna faint multiple times in this film, but this is the first time. Yeah, it's very sweet.
Can't handle a little bit of a scare.
Yeah, but the blood did nothing, though. Blood in his mouth, not a problem.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, he did just get hit in the head with a full-on pumpkin. And
right, so does he have a concussion or did he faint? We don't know.
It would hurt. I mean, he's kind of fainting, knocked
pumpkin.
out.
Yo, pumpkins
Maybe
are
he just wanted
mad
to take a
heavy.
nap.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I'm out.
Well, because he looks up because he hears them laughing. So he's clearly like, it was a prank, and then goes, and then faints. And then
this is the first flashback, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm. The mother. So he has these flashbacks of his mother throughout this film, and they're beautiful, really beautiful. So in the first one, she's like just in their yard or a forest, like spinning around with the flowers. She's flying. So we're sort of understanding that this is perhaps his childhood memory of her, not, I assume, fact.
This is what kind of confused me about that part. I was like, okay, this is his mother. He's obviously like he loves his mother, and his mother is now floating at one point, and it's like, is this like, is this his own feelings about his mother, or is she a witch? Like, is she supposed to be magical?
No, not if he believes in logic and reason. She couldn't be.
Well, why does he believe in it so much?
Yeah, and this is the thing.
Sorry, because I feel he's like, he's trying to cope with some scary ass shit. And so he is rejecting the idea, and he's like, no. None of that shit exists. No.
Well, yeah, and he has also a lot of trauma in his past based around
he should go to therapy.
The dichotomy between magic and reason, I guess, and witchcraft. He has a lot. So we do get, I think, from this first flashback that she's perhaps at least a little bit witchy. She's like drawing runes in the ashes. She's floating in the garden. She's definitely classic witch stuff,
Oh, yeah.
And I think in this first one, we just get a few glimpses of his father, like being angry and like slamming a book shut. We get a glimpse of a red door down a white hallway that's very picturesque. I think I got that right. Or is it a white door and a red hallway? A very stunning shot.
Red door with a red like carpet in a white place.
And he's approaching, like we're in his POV and we're approaching the door slowly, but we don't make it this time. So we're just seeing a glimpse of his childhood trauma. And then I think when he wakes up, he looks at his hand, and we see for the first time that he's got these little very even scars across his palms, like little dots. We don't quite know what those are yet either.
Okay.
Yes.
In a way that like scars, I'm pretty sure don't work.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure that wouldn't make sense, but it's cool.
It's cool.
So this is the first flashback. But meanwhile, we also get a little scene between him and Katrina where like, he's like sees a light on or a candle, I guess, in another room because they're all in the same house because he's in the Van Tassel house, and he like starts talking to Katrina, and they start connecting a little bit more. And
Making out.
She's kind of spiritual in a way.
Oh, cool.
No, they don't do that yet.
Intellectually making out.
Oh yeah, talking about
they're mashing their intellects together. What about you
deduction? Well, and my favorite is she's reading a book when he comes in and she puts it away and hides it. And he's like, "Are you hiding a book, ma'am?" And she's like, "Well, my father believes that my mother died of a brain fever brought on by reading." Okay.
Oh my God.
So
intense.
There's that.
So he's fucked. Yeah.
And she delivers like the worst exposition monologue I've ever heard in the worst accent ever, where she's just like, "My father came to this land, and then we came to the land, and we used to be poor, and now we're rich, and now he runs the town, and now," like, it's just everything you might not have caught, but now are catching again. She just delivers in a very emotionless exposition monologue.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
She's like, "Do you want to see where I grew up in the woods?" And he's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing about this movie is he's a detective. He's a detective, and he doesn't actually ask people questions. People just come up to him and volunteer information.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Like a video game. Like
right.
Everyone loves telling strangers their entire life story.
That.
So
that is literally video game.
Hamlet.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, because he. Yeah. So then is the next part where they go to the house in the woods?
Yeah. So they go.
If there's anything important in there, maybe
this
there's
is something I missed. Not this whole scene, but like why they go there. But he's basically informed that he should go talk to this woman, this old crone in this old house in the woods.
What's a crone?
Oh, are we there yet though?
Oh wait, no, not yet. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's later. A crone is an old lady.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I guess.
But you're right. No, they go to some like house, but also like a stone structure. I don't know. They're like
it's the ruins of a house.
Yeah, they in a field in very desaturated tones. They're kind of like having a good grand old time.
And she goes like, "This was my first drawing school," and she takes a stick and draws a ruin in the ashes. And she looks at the fireplace and there's like a carving of an archer, and she's like, the archer, in a way that is supposed to sound significant and apparently is later. Yeah. Although it's a bit contrived, if you ask me.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah. And then that's when is the magistrate shows up, or what happens?
Hang on. Yeah, that is next. So they go back to town, and Magistrate Phillips is like, "I'm getting the hell out of here," and he's like packed up his carriage, and he's like, "I am leaving this town because something like the Headless Horseman is coming to kill me." And this is the does he think the funniest scene in it because. Well, we don't know, I don't think, right?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Why does he think he's the next one or one of the next ones? We don't know. But there's this great exchange where Ichabod Crane is like, "There isn't a horseman, there never was a horseman, and there never will be a horseman. What's that?" Because he's holding like a talisman. He goes, "It's my talisman. It protects me from the horseman." So he's very, very afraid of the horseman.
They do that.
And and while Ichabod is explaining, like, "There's absolutely no horseman. You're being ridiculous," the horseman appears and rides towards them.
One? The real one.
Yeah, the actual
the real
shows
up
the hell up.
And in front of Crane in a shot that apparently took so much effort to get perfect. They had to create a whole device for this. He slices, and the magistrate's head spins around on the neck and then flies off and rolls. And it rolls down a hill and lands right between Johnny Depp's legs. Yeah. Right? Is that the time that happens?
He gets like
and looks up
Johnny
at him.
Depp, like knocks over. Yeah.
Hold on a second. So
like
Johnny Depp is not in front of the magistrate at this moment. He's like up on a hill, and Johnny Depp's yelling all these things to him.
No, they were together, but then you said he got knocked away or something.
Yeah, he definitely got knocked down by the horse and the horseman because the horseman's after the magistrate.
And the magistrate started running, I think, when he saw the horseman coming.
Yeah. Wow. And so the head goes into between his legs, and the horseman then is like galloping towards Johnny Depp, and he's ready to die at this point, and he just stabs the head with his sword and picks it up and gallops away.
Which we didn't mention before. Maybe we did, that they made sure to point out earlier when Ichabod Crane was like, where is the head for Mazbeth's body? They're like, he always takes the heads.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember if we said that. So he takes Philip's head, and Johnny Depp faints again. So fate number 2.
Yeah.
Is he with Christine Ritchie at this point?
No, she's like home.
She's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
She went home.
She gone.
Yeah. She's in bed.
Yeah.
And now because he faints again, we have flashback number 2, where we see Witchy Mother again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who's played by Lisa Marie, who I think Tim Burton went out with for a while, which makes sense because she looks exactly like the Corpse Bride.
This is
really?
before Helena Bonham Carter?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
calm down.
Who is absent from this movie?
Yeah. This was before he discovered Helena, I suppose.
Yeah.
So in this flashback, we get more of the father being angry, and he's like a very puritanical type man, and we know that he seems to be like pointing to a Bible instead of like the witch book and like yelling at everybody. And do we see what happened to the mother in this flashback? Or is that another flashback?
No, that's the last flashback that we see. Yeah. But we see, we just see him like
conflict between mom and dad.
I think we do see him dragging the mother into that room, but not, we don't see what happens to her yet.
That's right.
Ooh.
Now, since we're being told that he's like, that he's like a Christian Puritan type and she's clearly a witch, it does make me wonder how they met and why they hooked up in the first place.
Yeah. I bet she probably
people fall in love.
Perhaps she realized this after the fact. She realized her powers,
and he did after the fact.
I feel like Christian Puritans are pretty upfront about that shit, though. So
they meet and they're like, "Excuse, you're not a witch, yes? Okay, great. We may continue our relationship."
Yeah, so that's mom and dad.
That sucks.
Oh, and then when he wakes up, he just immediately believes everything. Horseman.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, absolutely, there's a horseman.
He just saw it.
Yeah. And everyone else is like, yeah, we know.
We've been trying to tell you. And he's like, no, you don't get it. It's a headless horseman.
He's real.
But they're like, yeah, we know. What the fuck is he trying to convince anybody of? Why did they call him here? Truly.
Well, they didn't call him specifically. Apparently, they reached out to like the New York constabulary, like the police, and were like, we need someone to solve these murders. And they sent
But they're
him.
solved. Like they're this dude. More like we need somebody to catch this murder. We need Ghostbusters.
Well, and they even point that out when Johnny Depp wakes up. He comes downstairs and they're like, all right, I'm going to write and request a new detective instantly. Or like, I'm going to go to New York myself and say we need someone else because this guy is not doing a great job.
Yeah.
So they kind of address that.
Yeah. But he comes down and he's just like, I'm going to fight this guy. Basically, that's all he says. I'm going to capture him, or I am determined
to defeat a ghost. He basically says.
This episode will conclude on Halloween. In the meantime, you can follow Haven't Seen It Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. That's at Haven't Seen It Podcast. And on Twitter at haven't_seen_it. You can find Haven't Seen It Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Whoa, this is a really cool voice. I wonder how much they paid this guy. Probably not enough.